You are listening to Chapter 1 of It Was a Dark and Stormy Night, an audiobook adaptation by Hudson Farrell based on the book by Janet and Alan Alberg.
It was a dark and stormy night. The rain came down in torrents. There were brigands on the mountains, and wolves. And the chief of the brigands said to Antonio,
I'm bored. Tell us a story.
Antonio was a small, brave boy, 8 years old, who had been kidnapped by the brigands and carried off to their secret cave. He scratched his curly head, puffed out his cheeks, and said,
I don't know any stories.
Make one up.
Yeah, begin at the beginning.
Yes, begin at the beginning.
Righto.
Antonio said, and he paused for a moment and began his story.
It was a dark and stormy night. The rain came down in torrents. There were brigands on the mountains and wolves, and the chief of the brigands said,
At this point, the real chief held up his hands.
Get rid of the rain.
I beg your pardon?
No rain. I'm sick of it.
Oh yes, let's have a dry story. Dry stories are better than wet ones.
Yeah, let's have a dry story.
Yes, I like a dry story as well.
Righto. How about this? It was a cold and frosty night. The snow swirled down around the entrance to the cave, and there were wolves on the mountains and bears.
Bears as well?
There are bears in this story.
And the wolves and bears crept ever closer to the entrance of the cave, where only a hissing, crackling fire kept them at bay.
Meanwhile, outside, the real rain rattled down, and the real wolves shook their sodden fur.
Hang on a minute.
The chief tossed a log onto the fire.
And the chief tossed a log onto the fire
The chief blew his nose.
and blew his nose.
Stop that.
And all the while, the pile of logs got smaller and smaller, and the fire burnt lower and lower, and the wolves and bears crept nearer and nearer and nearer. Finally, the fire went out, and the wolves and bears came rushing in, opened wide their hungry jaws, and...
I'm fed up with wolves.
Bears too.
Well, they were nearly fed up with you. How about chickens and squirrels then?
Don't be cheeky.
The chief mopped his brow with the same spotty hanky with which he had previously blown his nose.
Anyway, I'm also fed up with caves.
And mountains, yeah, let's have a flatter story. You know, flatter.
Righto. It was a bright and starry night.
That's better.
The silver moon shone down upon the silver beach beside the silver sea.
Oh, I love a silver.
Suddenly, lumbering toward the mighty chief and his brigand band, as they sat quietly dozing on the silver sand,
That rhymes.
came 6 hungry bears.
At once, the brigands protested.
What, is this bears again? We're done with bears. No bears. That's ridiculous.
We said no bears.
All right then, pirates. Cutthroat pirates, charging up across the sand from the left, and South American ruffians
What kind of beach is this?
racing in from the right, and massive sharks churning up the waters of the bay, and
Antonio cudgeled his brain for more ideas.
an alligator-infested swamp behind them, killer parrots in the palm trees, and
Antonio paused again to catch his breath and work out, if he could, what happened next.
What happened next?
well, the chief and his brigands put up a brave fight,
Of course they did.
but it was no use.
What do you mean no use?
They were surrounded and outnumbered,
So what?
cut up with cutlasses, porcupined with arrows, swallowed alive by sharks, pecked by
nothing.
The disgruntled chief staggered to his feet.
I'll tell you what really happened.
Yes,
tell
tell
him,
him, Chief.
The chief said,
Said the chief, taking over the story.
Come on, men, follow me. Whereupon, without flinching and with never a thought for his own safety, the mighty chief battled his way through the preposterous ambush. With one arm tied behind me, him, he wiped the beach with the pirate chief, the ruffian chief, and the shark and crocodile chiefs come to that.
And the parrots, chief.
And them. After that, he led his grateful band of brigands,
3 cheers for the chief.
his grateful band to,
At this point, the chief's lively invention began to falter.
to, a place of safety.
What place, chief?
A castle.
what? On a beach?
Why not? It's better than bears.
Perhaps it was a sandcastle.
Cried Fabrizi, thinking to join in on the fun. But the mighty chief was not amused. He banged Fabrizi on the head with a wooden spoon. After that, with the spoon in hand, the chief took to giving the stew a further stir. The big black pot, encrusted with previous generations of stew, was bubbling sluggishly as it hung suspended from a hook above the fire. The chief then raised the spoon to his lips, ate a bite, pulled a face, and then said to Antonio,
Keep on with this story. They're in the castle.
Righto.
and Antonio continued the story.
That is the end of Chapter 1 of It Was a Dark and Stormy Night. Join us next time to listen to Chapter 2.